The morning sun rose over New Bizen colony, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Children ran through the hydroponic gardens, laughing and playing between rows of modified rice plants. Families sat together eating breakfast. Farmers walked to their fields. It was a peaceful day, like every other day on this quiet world. Dr. Kim Yuna stood in the colony hospital, wrapping a bandage around a young boy's arm. He had fallen from a tree while playing with his friends. The boy winced but tried to be brave. "You will be fine," Yuna said with a warm smile. "But no more climbing for 1 week." The boy nodded and ran back to his mother. Yuna watched them leave and felt grateful for this simple life. She had left Earth 10 years ago to escape the crowded cities. Here on New Bizen, life was slower. People knew their neighbors. Children played outside instead of staring at screens. It was the life humanity was meant to live. 2.3 million people called New Bizen home. Most were farmers and scientists. There was no military presence except for a small orbital defense station called the Sejong. Captain Park Do-yeon commanded it with a crew of 200. They had never fired a weapon in combat. The station existed only because regulations required it. Do-yeon sat in his command chair, drinking coffee and reading reports. His communications officer, Lieutenant Cho Min-ho, monitored the empty space around them. Nothing ever happened here. That was why Do-yeon had requested this assignment. After 20 years of service, he wanted peace. "Captain," Min-ho said suddenly, his voice was strange. "I am detecting multiple FTL signatures at the edge of the system." Do-yeon put down his coffee. "How many?" Min-ho's face went pale. "Over 200, sir." Do-yeon stood up. 200 ships. No human fleet was that large. No scheduled visits were expected. He walked to the main screen and watched as the signatures became clearer. The ships were huge. Their design was unlike anything in human records. "Open a channel," Do-yeon ordered. "All frequencies. Standard first contact protocols." Min-ho worked his console. "Channel open, sir." "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Park Do-yeon of the United Earth Coalition Station, Sejong. We welcome you to the Kepler system. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." "We come in peace." Silence. Min-ho tried again. "Different frequencies. Different languages. Mathematical sequences. Universal symbols of peace. Nothing." The alien fleet moved closer. Their formation was perfect, military. "Sir," Min-ho whispered, "they are charging weapons." Do-yeon's heart stopped. All hands to battle stations. "Raise shields. Power up weapons." He opened a channel to the colony below. "New Bizen, this is Sejong. Unknown hostile fleet approaching. Begin emergency evacuation procedures immediately." This is not a drill. The first shot hit the Sejong before the shields were fully raised. The station shook violently. Consoles exploded, crew members screamed. Do-yeon grabbed his chair to stay standing. "Return fire." He shouted. The Sejong's weapons fired at the nearest alien S5 years after the war ended. The galaxy was different. The Velkar survived as a diminished people. Their empire was gone. Their military was dismantled. Their leaders had been tried and executed for genocide. They lived on their homeworld and a few colonies watched by human observers. They would never threaten anyone again. Some humans said they had been too merciful. The Velkar had killed entire species. They deserved extinction. Others said they had gone too far. Billions of Velkar had died in the war. Was that justice or just more murder? There was no consensus. Perhaps there never would be. President Kang Tae-young visited the memorial on Earth. He was old now. His hair was white. His face was lined with years of burden. He had led humanity through its darkest hour and its greatest victory. He did not feel like a hero. The memorial was vast, black stone stretching for kilometers. 2.3 million names from New Bizen, 12 million names of soldiers who died in the war. 3 colony worlds lost in Velkar counterattacks. So many dead, Kang walked among the names. He stopped at one, Dr. Kim Yuna, the woman whose recording had started everything. He touched her name gently. "Was it worth it?" He asked the stone. There was no answer. There never was. He thought about the war, about the decisions he had made. Could peace have been achieved with less blood? Could they have negotiated? Could they have found another way? He did not think so. The Velker did not negotiate. They had destroyed 17 species. They would have destroyed humanity too. There was no choice but to fight. But knowing that did not make the cost easier to bear, Admiral Lee Sujin retired after the war. She refused all honors, all medals, all titles. She wanted only to be left alone. She lived in a small house by the sea. She did not give interviews. She did not write memoirs. She did not appear at ceremonies. She simply disappeared. One day, a journalist found her. He asked the question everyone wanted answered. Do you regret it? Sujin was quiet for a long time. She looked out at the ocean, at the waves that never stopped. I regret that it was necessary, she said finally. I do not regret that we won. Some say we committed genocide too, that we are no better than them. Sujin shook her head. We destroyed their military. We dismantled their government. We broke their power, but we let them live. They let no one live. There is a difference. Is it enough of a difference? She did not answer. The journalist left. Sujin stayed by the sea, watching the waves. She would stay there until she died. Alone with her memories. Alone with the weight of what she had done. Commander Yun Jiwoo became Ambassador Jiwoo. Her intelligence work had helped win the war. Now she used her skills for peace. She was humanity's voice to the galaxy, and the galaxy was watching. She met with representatives of dozens of species. Some were grateful. The Velker had threatened them too. They were glad the humans had stopped them. Others were afraid. They had seen what humanity could do, how fast they could mobilize, how completely they could destroy an enemy. Humans were young and primitive, and they had beaten the Velker in 5 years. What would they do in 50? In 500? One ambassador spoke for many. You are the most violent species we have ever encountered. You fought a total war and won through sheer will. You built weapons that can crack planets. You did all this in 3 years. He paused. We do not know whether to thank you or fear you. Jiwoo looked at him calmly. Both, she said. Thank us for stopping the Velker. Fear us enough to never make their mistake. And what mistake is that? Hurting our people. We do not start wars. We did not attack the Velker first. We did not want conflict. But when they killed our children, we ended them. She leaned forward. Remember that. We will trade with you. We will share knowledge with you. We will be your friends. But if you strike our people, we will destroy you. That is not a threat. It is a fact. The ambassador was silent. Then he nodded slowly. We understand. Far across the galaxy, an alien empire debated expansion. Their territory was crowded. They needed new worlds. Human space was nearby. It would be easy to take. Their intelligence officers presented their findings. The humans were young. Their technology was not the most advanced. They had only controlled space for a few centuries. But they had destroyed the Velker. The Emperor studied the reports carefully. He watched recordings of the war. He saw human ships charging into impossible odds. He saw human soldiers fighting until death. He saw the ruins of Velker worlds. He made his decision. Find other territory, he ordered. These humans, they do not forgive, they do not forget. They will fight until nothing remains. Let them be, his advisors agreed. The humans were too dangerous, too determined, too willing to sacrifice everything. Humanity would not be attacked again, not for a long time. Perhaps not ever. Captain Moon Era commanded the new Bizan Memorial Station. It orbited the grave of the colony, watching over the ashes of 2.3 million people. A silent guardian. Era had been a student before the war, then a soldier, then a killer. Now she was a guardian of memory. She was not sure which role fit her best. Perhaps none of them did. A new colony was being built nearby. New Bizan too. The first settlers arrived while Era watched from orbit. Families with children, farmers with dreams, scientists with hope. They were building a new life on a new world. Near the place where so many had died, it seemed right somehow. Life continuing, hope surviving. The dead honored by the living. Era watched a shuttle land on the new colony. Children ran out into the sunlight. They laughed and played in the grass. They did not know what had happened here. They did not carry the weight of the past. That was good. That was how it should be. The old generation carried the scars so the new generation could be free. She walked to the observation deck. The sun of New Bizan's system rose over the horizon. Golden light filled the station. Beside her was a memorial plaque. 2.3 million names etched in steel. She touched the plaque. Her fingers traced the names. Kim Yuna, Park Do-yeon, Cho Min-ho, all the others, all the dead. We remembered, she said quietly. We avenged you. We made sure it will never happen again. She thought of the war. The battles. The blood, the cost. 12 million human soldiers dead. Billions of Velker dead. Worlds burned on both sides. Was it worth it? She did not know. She would never know. But she knew one thing. The children playing on New Bizan 2 would grow up safe. They would never fear the Velker. They would never wake to fire falling from the sky. They would live in a galaxy that knew better than to touch humanity. That was something. Perhaps it was enough. The sun rose higher. The light grew brighter. Era stood at the window, watching Dot. She was tired. So tired she had given everything to the war. Her youth. Her innocence. Her belief in simple right and wrong. She did not know who she was anymore, but she was alive. And the dead were remembered. And humanity endured. She spoke the words that had become a prayer. A promise. A warning. We will always remember. Below her, on New Bizan 2, a little girl looked up at the sky. She saw the station glittering in the sunlight. She waved. Ara smiled. She waved back. The galaxy watched humanity with fear and respect. The dead of New Bizan rested in honored memory. The Velkor survived as a lesson to others. And humanity continued. Building, growing, reaching for the stars, they had proven what they were. A species that did not give up, did not surrender, did not forget. They were humans. And the galaxy would remember what that meant. Forever. Hip. The shots hit the enemy shields and did nothing. Not even a flicker. The aliens fired again. And again. The Sejong was torn apart piece by piece. Do-yeon knew they would not survive. He had one duty left. He opened an emergency channel to Earth. Earth Command, this is Captain Park Do-yeon of the Sejong. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Over 200 ships. They fired without warning. They are not responding to communication. New Bizan colony is in danger. Send help. Send everyone. Another explosion. The lights went out. In the darkness, Do-yeon finished his message. Tell my family I love them. The Sejong exploded. All 200 crew died in an instant. On the surface, people looked up at the sky. They saw the station burning. They saw the alien ships descending through the clouds. They saw weapons glowing with terrible light. Dr. Kim Yuna ran out of the hospital. Around her, people screamed and ran in all directions. There was nowhere to go. The colony had no bunkers, no defenses. They were farmers. They were families. The first bombardment hit the capital city. A beam of light fell from the sky and erased 10,000 people in a second. Then another beam. Then another. The aliens were not targeting military sites. There were no military sites. They were targeting schools, hospitals, homes. Yuna ran back into the hospital. Patients were screaming. Children were crying for their parents. She grabbed her personal recording device and turned it on. The galaxy needed to see this. Humanity needed to know. My name is Dr. Kim Yuna, she said, her voice shaking. I am at New Bizan Colony General Hospital. We are under attack. They are killing everyone. They are killing children. She pointed the device at the window. Outside, fire fell from the sky. Buildings collapsed. People ran and burned and died. A little girl stood alone in the street, crying for her mother. A beam of light took her. Yuna filmed it all. The screams. The death. The horror. Parents holding their children as they turned to ash. Old people who could not run, standing with dignity as the end came. Young people trying to fight back with farming tools, dying uselessly but bravely. The hospital shook. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Yuna was thrown to the ground. She crawled through rubble and dust, still holding the device. Injured people reached for her. Dying people begged for help. She could do nothing. She was a doctor, and she could do nothing. She had never felt so helpless. A young nurse named Himan grabbed her arm. "Doctor, we need to hide the recording. Someone needs to find it. Someone needs to know." Yuna nodded. They found a medical container made of reinforced steel. It could survive anything. Yuna sealed the device inside. "Whoever finds this," she said into the container before closing it, "remember us. Remember what they did. Do not let our deaths be meaningless. Do not let them do this to anyone else." She sealed the container and threw it out a broken window into a pile of rubble. The hospital's roof exploded inward. Light and heat and death came down. Yuna closed her eyes and thought of her family on Earth. She thought of the boy with the broken arm. She thought of all the children who would never grow up. Then there was nothing. 6 hours after the attack began, New Bizin was silent. The cities were craters. The fields were ash. The people were gone. 2.3 million human beings erased from existence. The alien fleet, the Velker Dominion, did not land. They did not take resources. They did not capture prisoners. They did not claim the planet. They simply left. They had come only to kill. Genocide for its own sake. In the cold silence of space, a small metal container drifted among the debris. Inside was a recording. Inside was the truth. Inside was a voice that would wake a sleeping giant and bring fire to the stars. Dr. Kim Yuna was dead. But her message would live forever, and humanity would answer. 3 weeks passed. Earth waited for news from New Bizan. The colony had gone silent after Captain Park Do-yeon's final transmission. Ships were sent to investigate. The journey took time. People hoped for survivors. They prayed for good news. There was no good news. Sergeant Han Yunbi led the recovery team. Her ship entered the Kepler system and found only death. Where a living world had been, there was now a graveyard. The surface was glass. The cities were gone. The people were ash. Yunbi had served for 15 years. She had seen combat. She had seen death. But nothing prepared her for this. Her crew stood in silence, staring at the screens. Some cried. Some vomited. Some simply could not speak. "Search for survivors," Yunbi ordered. Her voice was flat. She knew there would be none. They searched for 3 days. They found bodies. They found ruins. They found toys and clothes and wedding rings. They found evidence of 2.3 million lives ended in 6 hours. They did not find a single survivor. On the 3rd day, a young soldier found something in the rubble. A metal container. Medical grade. Designed to survive extreme conditions. Inside was a recording device. Yunbi watched the recording alone first. Then she watched it again. Her hands shook. Her jaw tightened. She had never felt such anger. Such hatred. Such a need for revenge. She transmitted the recording to Earth Command with a simple message. New Bizan is gone. All dead. The enemy is called the Velker. Watch the file? Then give me orders. On Earth, Admiral Lee Sujin received the transmission. She was the Supreme Commander of United Nations Space Forces. 60 years old, calm, professional, she had built her career on careful thinking and measured responses. She watched Dr. Kim Yuna's recording in her office, alone, in the dark, when it ended. She sat in silence for a long time. Then she made a call to President Kang Tae-young, the Secretary General of the United Earth Coalition. "You need to see this," she said. Now, President Kang watched the recording. He was a politician. He had seen terrible things in reports and briefings. But watching children burn while a doctor screamed and cried was different. It was personal. It was real. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" he asked it. Jin looked at him with cold eyes. "Show it to everyone." Kang hesitated. "The public will panic. They will demand action. We are not ready for war." "And then we will get ready," Sujin said. "The people deserve to know. The dead deserve to be remembered. And the enemy deserves to know that we are coming." Kang thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. The recording was broadcast to all of humanity. Every colony, every station, every ship, every screen on Earth. 9 billion people watched Dr. Kim Yuna's final message. They watched their people die. They heard her last words, "Remember us." The reaction was immediate and universal. On Earth, people filled the streets. But they were not protesting against their government. They were demanding war. In Seoul, 10 million people marched. In New York, 5 million. In Lagos, in Mumbai, in Snow Polo everywhere, people shouted the same thing. Revenge, justice, war. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed. Young people lined up for hours to join the military. Old veterans came out of retirement. Scientists abandoned civilian projects to work on weapons. Factories that made cars and appliances stopped production and began making ships and guns. The entire human species pivoted in a single moment. Every disagreement was forgotten. Every conflict was put aside. There was only one enemy now. There was only one goal. Commander Yoon Ji-woo was an intelligence officer. Her job was to analyze threats. She studied the recording and the data from New Bizan. She studied the alien ships. She searched through every database for information about the Velker. What she found was terrifying. She presented her findings to Admiral Sujin and President Kang. "The Velker Dominion is ancient," she said. "They have existed for over 50,000 years. They control hundreds of star systems. They have destroyed at least 17 intelligent species that we know of." "Why?" Kang asked. "They believe in something they call cleansing. When they find a younger species that might one day challenge them, they destroy it completely. They do not conquer. They do not enslave. They do not negotiate. They simply kill everyone and move on." "They have done this 17 times?" Sujin asked quietly. "At least. Probably more. The records are incomplete." Jiwoo paused. "They expected us to react like the others. To mourn. To hide. To accept our fate. They do not understand humans." Sujin stood up. "Then we will teach them." She addressed the United Nations Assembly the next day. Every nation, every colony, every faction of humanity, they all watched. She spoke quietly. She did not shout. She did not cry. Her voice was ice. 3 weeks ago, the Velker Dominion murdered 2.3 million of our people. They killed children. They killed families. They killed farmers and doctors and teachers. They did not attack our military. They did not take our resources. They simply erased a world of innocent people because they believe we might one day be a threat to them. She paused. They believe we will negotiate. They believe we will accept losses and seek peace. They believe we are like the other species they have destroyed. They are wrong. Her voice grew harder. We will not negotiate. We will not seek peace. We will not stop until every Velker ship is destroyed. Until every Velker world burns. Until their species exists only in our history books as a warning to anyone who thinks about touching humanity again. She looked directly into the cameras. They wanted to cleanse us. We will cleanse them. The vote was unanimous. Total war. No terms. No surrender accepted. Genocide for genocide. After the assembly, President Kang found Admiral Sujin alone. He looked tired, older. Is this right? He asked. Killing them all? Sujin turned to him. They killed children. They have killed entire species. If we do not destroy them, they will do it again. To us or to others. So we become like them? Sujin shook her head. No, we become what they forced us to become. There is a difference. Kang was not sure there was. But he had made his decision. Humanity had made its decision. There was no going back. Across human space. Shipyards came alive. The largest military buildup in history began. Ships were designed and built at impossible speed. Weapons were created that had only existed in theory. Soldiers were trained by the millions on Earth. A memorial was built for New Bizin, 2.3 million names carved in black stone. People came from everywhere to see it, to read the names. To remember the memorial, someone had placed a small sign. It had only 3 words, "We are coming." In the darkness of space, humanity prepared for war. The Valkyr had awakened something ancient, something they did not understand, something that would not stop, would not forgive, would not forget. The dead of New Bizin would be avenged, whatever the cost. 3 years passed. Human space transformed into an engine of war. Chief Engineer Beek Sunho stood before the largest ship ever built by human hands, the Vengeance-class dreadnought, 12 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, covered in armor so thick that nothing in the galaxy could pierce it. "Beautiful," he whispered. Sunho had spent his whole career designing cargo ships and passenger vessels. Peaceful things. Useful things. After New Bizin, he volunteered to work on warships. He had not slept more than 4 hours a night since then. He did not care. Sleep could wait. Revenge could not. The Vengeance was the first of 40. Each one took 6 months to build. Before the war, such a ship would have taken 10 years. But humanity worked without rest. Factories ran day and night. Workers took extra shifts without being asked. Engineers solved problems that had seemed impossible because failure was not an option. Sunho walked through the ship with his team. Every system was perfect. Every weapon was ready. Every piece of armor was flawless. This ship would carry 2,000 crew into battle. They would ride in the most advanced machine humanity had ever created. "How many of these can we build?" asked a young engineer. 40, Sunho said. "And 3,000 smaller warships, and 10 million fighters, and enough weapons to burn 100 worlds." The young engineer looked uncomfortable. "Is that not too much?" Sunho turned to him. "The Valkyr have been killing species for 50,000 years. They have fleets beyond counting, armies beyond measuring. They have never lost a war." He pointed at the Vengeance. "We will make sure they lose this one." On the other side of Earth, Dr. Shin Hyung worked in a laboratory buried deep underground. She was the lead researcher on Project Hellfire. Only 12 people knew what it was. Soon, the Valkyr would learn. Hyung had been a peaceful scientist before the war. She studied stars and planets. She wanted to understand the universe. After New Bizin, she wanted to destroy part of it. Project Hellfire was a weapon, a planet killer. It could crack a world like an egg. It could turn continents to dust. It was the most terrible thing humanity had ever created. "Is it ready?" Admiral Sujin asked during an inspection. Hyung nodded. "It is ready, but I hope we never use it." "So do I," Sujin said. "But if we need to, we will." Hyung also developed smaller weapons. Quantum disruption torpedoes that could pass through Valkyr shields. Adaptive armor that learned from enemy attacks and became stronger. Beam weapons that could cut through anything. Every weapon was tested. Every weapon worked. The Valkyr had better technology, but they had not innovated in thousands of years. Humans had been killing each other for 10,000 years. They were very good at finding new ways to do it. In a training camp on Mars, private first-class Moon Era prepared for war. She was 22 years old. Before the war, she had been a student. She wanted to be a teacher. After she saw the recording from New Bizin, she joined the military the same day. Now she was part of the Ghost Division. The most elite soldiers in human history. Enhanced with neural implants that made them think faster. Wearing powered exoskeletons that made them stronger. Trained in every form of combat. Their commander, Colonel Kwon Ji-hoon, stood before them. "You are not normal soldiers," he said. "You are weapons. You will go where the fighting is worst. You will face enemies that outnumber you. You will not retreat. You will not surrender. You will kill every Valkyr you find until there are none left." Hera felt the weight of his words. She thought of the children in the recording. She thought of Dr. Kim Yuna's voice. She was ready. "What is our mission?" asked a soldier next to her. "To board enemy ships," Ji-hoon said. "To invade enemy worlds? To look them in the eyes when they die, so they know who killed them and why." The training was brutal. Many soldiers failed. Some died. Those who remained were not fully human anymore. They were faster, stronger, harder. They had traded parts of themselves for the power to take revenge. Era did not regret it. She would give anything to avenge New Bizan. Her humanity was a small price. Commander. Yoon Ji-woo continued her intelligence work. She studied the Velker endlessly. Their ships. Their tactics. Their history. She looked for weaknesses. She found one. "They are stagnant," she reported to Admiral Sojin. "They have not changed in millennia. They conquered the galaxy with superior technology long ago. But they stopped developing. They believe they are perfect. And we? We have been at war with ourselves since we came down from the trees. We adapt. We innovate. We fight dirty. They have never faced an enemy like us." Sojin nodded slowly. "They are stronger. We are hungrier. Yes, and there is something else. They have never fought a species that knew it would lose." Sojin looked at her sharply. "You think we will lose?" "I think they are bigger and older and more powerful. I think we will suffer terrible losses. I think many of our people will die." Ji-woo paused. "But I also think we will keep fighting anyway." "Other species surrendered when they realized they could not win. Humans do not surrender. We would rather die." Sujin understood. The Velker had never fought an enemy willing to lose everything. They had never faced pure, absolute determination. They had never encountered a species that would burn its own worlds rather than submit. That was humanity's advantage. Not technology. Not numbers. 3 years after New Bizan, the fleet was ready. 3,000 warships gathered at the edge of human space. 50 million soldiers prepared for battle. 40 Vengeance-class dreadnoughts led the formation, each one named after a destroyed colony or a fallen hero. Captain Oh Jun-ho commanded one of them, the Unbowed. He had been a young officer when New Bizan was destroyed. He had lost friends there, family. He had waited 3 years for this moment. He addressed his crew before departure. "The Velker believe they are gods. They have destroyed civilizations for 50,000 years. They think we are just another species to be erased." He paused. "They are wrong. We are humanity. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars and famines. We have split atoms and walked on moons and spread across the stars. We do not know how to give up. We do not know how to die quietly." His voice rose. "They killed our families. They killed our children. They thought we would mourn and move on. They were wrong. We are coming for them. And we will not stop until every last one of them knows the name New Bizan." The crew cheered. The sound echoed through the ship. On Earth, Admiral Sujin watched the fleet prepare to jump. 3,000 points of light ready to bring fire to the stars. She thought of the dead. She thought of what was to come. She thought of the cost. "Launch!" she ordered. The fleet jumped to FTL, space-bent and twisted around them. They vanished from human space and reappeared at the edge of Velker territory. The war had begun. Sujin stood alone on her observation deck. Earth hung in the darkness behind her. Ahead, among the stars, her people were going to fight. Many would die. Perhaps they would all die. But the Velker would know they had been in a fight. The galaxy would remember what happened when you touched humanity. And the dead of New Bizan would finally have their justice, she whispered into the silence. For the children. Then she turned and went to work. There was a war to win. The human fleet arrived at the first Velker world without warning. 400 million Velker lived there. Families, workers, children. The same as New Busan. Captain Oh Jun-ho sat in his command chair on the Unbowed. His weapons officer looked at him, waiting. "Sir, the colony has no military defenses. They are civilians. Jun-ho thought of New Bizen. He thought of Dr. Kim Yuna's recording. He thought of children burning. So were ours, he said. Open fire. The fleet bombarded the colony for 6 hours. The same amount of time the Velker had spent on New Bizan. When it was over, the world was glass. 400 million dead. No survivors. Junho felt nothing. He had expected guilt, horror at what he had become. There was only emptiness, only cold satisfaction. Send a message to their homeworld, he ordered. Tell them we have come. Tell them this is just the beginning. The Velker High Commander was named Thiessen. He was ancient even by Velker standards. He had commanded the cleansing of 6 species. He had never known defeat. When he received the message from the destroyed colony, he was not afraid. He was curious. No species had ever struck back. The humans were interesting, but they would die like all the others. He mobilized the full Dominion fleet. 5,000 warships. 10 times what the humans had sent against New Bizan. He would crush them quickly and then cleanse their remaining worlds. They are primitive, he told his officers, young and emotional. They will break when they see our true power. The 2 fleets met in a nebula that would later be called Crimson. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Lee Sojin commanded the human forces from her flagship, the Retribution. She watched the Velker fleet approach. 5,000 ships against her 3,000. The odds were bad. All ships, she ordered. Attack formation. No retreat. No surrender. The battle began. Human ships were smaller but faster. They darted between the massive Velker vessels, hitting weak points and withdrawing. Quantum torpedoes tore through shields that had never been breached before. Adaptive armor learned from every hit and grew stronger, but the Velker were powerful. Their weapons cut through human ships like paper. Explosions filled the nebula. Thousands died in seconds. Captain Junho led his battle group into the heart of the enemy formation. The unbowed took hit after hit. Sections of the ship burned. Crew members died at their stations. He did not stop. Target their command ship, he ordered. All weapons. The unbowed fired everything. Beams and missiles and torpedoes. The Velker command ship's shields flickered and fell. The ship exploded. 1 down, Junho said. Thousands to go. On a Velker cruiser, Private Moon Era led a boarding team. Ghost Division. The most elite soldiers humanity had. They cut through the hull and entered the ship. Velker soldiers met them in the corridors. They were tall and strong and armored. They had been warriors for millennia. Era killed the first one with a blade through the throat. Her exoskeleton made her faster than they could see. Her implants let her predict their movements before they made them. She was a machine of death wearing human skin. Her team moved through the ship, deck by deck. Every Velker they found, they killed. No mercy, no hesitation. The ship ran red with alien blood. They reached the bridge and killed the captain. Era looked into his eyes as he died. She wanted him to see her face, to know what humanity looked like. Bridge secured, she reported. Moving to the next ship. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the nebula was a graveyard. Debris and bodies floating in the void. The silence of the dead, human losses were severe. 40% of the fleet destroyed. Over 1 million soldiers dead. Ships that had been homes were now tombs, but the Velker losses were total. All 5,000 ships destroyed. Not one escaped. Thiessen received the news in shock. His entire fleet, gone, destroyed by primitives. By children. It was impossible, but it had happened. The humans did not stop. They pushed deeper into Velker space. World after world fell. Not just military targets, everything. The humans were taking their revenge. Admiral Sujin directed the campaign with cold efficiency. She did not enjoy it. She did not celebrate victories. She simply continued. There was a job to do. The ground campaign was brutal. Human soldiers landed on Velkor worlds and fought through cities. Ghost Division led every assault. Era rose through the ranks as her commanders died around her. She became a captain, then a major. She lost count of her kills. The Velker fought hard. They were strong and proud, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Humans did not stop when they were wounded, did not stop when they were outnumbered, did not stop when victory was impossible. On one world, a Velker commander asked for a meeting. He wanted to negotiate. He offered to return territory, to pay reparations, to leave humanity alone forever. Admiral Sojin's response was short. We do not negotiate with those who murder children. The world burned, but as the campaign continued, something changed. Velker civilians began to surrender. They were not soldiers. They were farmers and teachers and families. They had not chosen this war. They were just trying to survive. Some human commanders wanted to kill them anyway. Eye for eye, blood for blood. The Velker had shown no mercy to new BUSAN. Admiral Sujin made a decision. The hardest of her life. Spare the civilians, she ordered. Military and government targets only. We are not them. Some officers protested. They killed our children. Yes, Sujin said. And if we kill theirs, we become what they are? We will destroy their ability to make war. We will dismantle their government. We will break their power forever. But we will not murder innocents. That is what separates us from them. It was not a popular decision. Many soldiers wanted total revenge, but they obeyed. The civilians were spared. The campaign took 18 months. At the end, the human fleet arrived at Thessa, the Velker homeworld, the birthplace of their species, the heart of their dominion. Thesan stood on his balcony and watched the human ships fill his sky. He was the last High Commander. All others had died. His fleets were gone. His armies were broken. His people were beaten. He opened a channel to the human flagship. We surrender, he said. Unconditionally. No terms, no conditions. We submit to your judgment. Captain Ojinho responded. He had survived the entire war. His ship had been repaired and rebuilt many times. He was not the same man who had left Earth. Your surrender is accepted, he said. Your military will be dismantled. Your government will be dissolved. Your leaders will stand trial for genocide. Your weapons will be destroyed, he paused. Your species will live. You will survive as a monument to what happens when you touch humanity. Future civilizations will study you. They will see what you were and what we made you. And they will know never to make your mistake. Thesan closed his eyes. His people would live. That was something. Perhaps it was more than they deserved. Why? He asked. You could destroy us. Why do you spare us? Jinho thought of Admiral Sojin's words. Because we are not you. The Velker flag was lowered over their capital for the last time. A human flag rose in its place. Below it, a smaller flag, the flag of New Bizan. 2.3 million names were read aloud. It took 3 days. The war was over. Major Moon Era stood in the central square of the Velker capital. Around her, human soldiers and Velkor civilians. No one fought. No one died. It was finished. She thought she would feel triumphant, victorious. She felt only tired, empty. The rage that had carried her for 5 years was gone. She did not know what would replace it. A Velker child walked past her. A little girl, holding her mother's hand. The child looked up at Era with wide, frightened eyes. Era looked back. She thought of the children of New Bisan. She thought of what her people had done to Velker worlds. She nodded to the child. The child nodded back. Perhaps that was enough. Perhaps that was how it ended. Not with hatred. Just with silence. And memory. And the hope that it would never happen again.